This is Housebound. I'm Chris.
I'm Holly.
I'm Ashlynn.
I'm Greg.
And you're invited.
Welcome to Housebound, a podcast we made because we needed company. In it, we talk about things that are on our mind, and today we're talking about vacations.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, because Chris and I just got back from a vacation, and it was really great, and it was probably the biggest vacation that we've ever gone on.
Nice.
So that is why it is on my mind. Do you have a large vacation that you have been on?
Not really. So I finally got my very first passport.
Yeah.
What?
Right before COVID.
Oh.
I was so excited.
We were very
We
excited.
had like a bunch of
Technically,
hoops to
I
jump
did too.
through. I used a fax machine for the first time, and then COVID came.
A fax machine. That was the highlight of getting my passport.
Well, so far that's about what my vacation experience has been. Has been faxing my marriage license because I didn't realize I had to bring that in order to get a passport.
yeah.
Oh my goodness, the hoops.
Yes.
Government, a lovely thing.
If you change your name, though, that you have to prove that you are who you are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because apparently I have two identities for the rest of my life now.
Yeah.
Because I have to continually prove
I'm sorry.
my name change.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you.
Everything
this
starts,
is your fault.
Everything starts with your driver's license, though. The first thing you should always update
Yeah,
is your driver's license. It's the easiest thing to update. And then
everything was already like fully updated, so I was ready to like.
Okay.
I've never had a passport before. We're starting fresh. We got a clean
Yeah.
slate. Nope. You have another identity. Time to prove it with a marriage license. So then I had to go to Staples to use their fax machine, of which we went to the guy to like try to fax this in because that's the only way they would accept it.
Yeah.
So I contacted the library first, said like, "Do you guys have a fax machine?" And the lady was like, "No, but how fascinating." And so I suggested that the library now purchase a fax machine. That's in the works. But
Ashlynn's on the board for the new Saskatchewan Public Library. And she's been
wish.
pitching fax machines as a department.
As a department. I mean, it would be a good thing for them to have.
I know.
Sometimes you need one.
There's that
Sometimes you
little
need one.
podcasting room that we talked about a few episodes ago about
Oh,
how
yeah,
they
yeah,
have
yeah.
it. And then right next to it is going to be the faxing room.
Yeah, that would be loud. Yeah.
And then right next to it, the modem
Yeah,
room.
I know what that sounds like because I got to use it.
So we got to Staples, and then we asked if they had a fax machine. And so
Yeah.
then they took us down a stairwell
What?
into, and this
Staples
old
has
man
a basement?
came out with
This
he had
old
this-
man?
He had this crazy
And he
hat
said,
on.
"This
and
is your side quest."
Oh, I see. I thought you were being serious. And I was like,
Yo.
what the heck? What Staples has a basement?
It's
But
just
I
Don't
went
go
right
down
into
into
the
there.
I
lobby.
would believe it. Yeah, it was just in the lobby. But it's one of those things where you expect it to be in the basement, locked in some
Yeah.
dungeon somewhere,
Yeah.
and then there's like some old man guarding it.
Yeah, so then I figured out how to use a fax machine. You have to have like a cover page that has
Yes.
the address on it, and then your like
Oh.
substance, and then like an ending page
Well,
with
you
everything
don't
else.
have to,
But
but
then
yeah, it works better.
Staples is like, "Oh yeah, we charge per page, and we include that cover page and
Oh.
end page. So you have to
Oh.
pay
How
for
nice
like,
of them.
That's rude.
and then you had the front and back of the marriage certificate. So
Yeah.
that was 4 pages suddenly to send one thing. Anyways, so I had to spend money as opposed to if the library had had one, where it would have been $1 free. But the Staples guy had never used it before, so we were on our own, and we managed to fax that in. And then I was excited to go nowhere because the pandemic hit.
Did you have a plan to go somewhere?
Did
We
you have a
did.
plan to go somewhere?
We all did.
Yeah. I mean,
Well, not with the passport.
Not with the passport.
Oh, but that would have been right before COVID. That was in 2018, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of using the passport
Okay.
itself, that would have been probably just like Disney.
Oh, Disney.
You were going to go to Disney?
I really
At
want
some
to go
point.
to Disney.
Oh, I do remember you talking about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really
I
want
wanna
to go
to
Disney.
Disney.
Go to Galaxy.
I wanna go to Galaxy's
Land,
Edge, yeah.
right? Or
I mean-
Galaxy's Edge, yeah.
That would be epic. I've always wanted to go to Disney. And
You mean that would be Epcot?
No.
No, still epic.
That one's
Thanks, I'll be here all week.
yeah.
that one is not going to make the highlights reel for Facebook.
Yeah.
Wait, I've got a
No.
there we go.
My
Anyways.
parents have taken my sister's families when their kids get to be 10 years old to a Disney cruise rather than
Oh, fun.
Disney specifically.
Mhm.
But we don't got no kids and maybe
Mhm.
won't do that with our lives. And so
You have a dog.
He's not 10.
Wait, how
and
old
he
do they
can't
have?
come
How old do they have to be before we take them?
before Dad will take them?
Yeah.
10.
Sorry, them and us. Okay, so we adopt a 9-year-old.
Yeah, because my dad's
Seems
gonna be dead.
really
if
worth
we're-
it.
If we're
That's
have
like
a baby and
I'm
then
getting
wait 10
that
years.
TikTok noise in my head. You're coming home with me. Just to get a
So
trip to
weird.
Disney. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to be really
worst
worth it
reason.
when they have to go to college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or when they ask, why did you adopt me?
Yeah. Did you want me? No. Not even a little.
Yikes. Do not recommend doing that.
No.
That was all a joke. This was a gag. Asterisks.
Yeah, but they always come home from that trip, that cruise, and they go, "Man, you two would really love doing a Disney cruise." My mom tells me that all the
That's a
time.
dink move.
Yeah, she's like, "You guys would just love it because we love movies so much, right?" So yeah, I think we'd really like to do Disney at some point. It's pricey though.
Oh, yeah.
Now, the reason that I kind of perked up when you were talking about the passport, because I forgot that you don't need a passport to travel
Yeah.
Within
domestically.
the country.
Yeah.
But
Country.
the reason, dear listeners, that I kind of perked up at that was because in 2019 we had all been planning to, or in 2018 we had all been planning, the four of us, to take a trip in 2019 together, and that was the year 2018 was when I got my first passport, and I. Like, my parents had put the forms on like the kitchen table once when I was younger and been like, you should fill this out. You should get a passport. And I was like, well, I'm never going anywhere. Oh, you know what? That's probably not true. We needed a passport to go to Minot because we crossed the border on our third. I think it was our third anniversary.
Just
so
before that.
4 years ago.
Yeah.
We got it just before that. So I was wrong. I didn't get it just before we.
But did you go to Minot?
We did go to Minot.
What thrilling adventures did Minot have for you?
Well,
actually,
there's
very
lots of gun
little.
stores,
Yeah,
and
that's true.
that's it. That's basically like Canada.
Well, we could have done more, except that we had gone to a outdoor water slide place
in
the
Saskatchewan
day
before getting to Minot.
I was
yeah.
like, there's an outdoor water slide place in Minot? No, that
No,
wasn't
it's
even
called-
in Minot.
No, it's in the middle of nowhere.
It's called something Super Slides. Is it Kenosi Super
Kenosi,
Slides?
yeah.
It could be
Yeah.
something else, but I think it's
It was pretty
Kenosi
fun,
Super
but
Slides.
also a little sketchy because all them slides I think have been
Real
up for
old.
100 years.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And the joints are in between them are so bad that it hurts.
Yeah, it
Perfect.
hurts a little. Yeah. It was a lot of fun, but
we applied
Chris-
sunscreen and then went down the slides
Yeah.
and then laid in the sun without reapplying any sunscreen.
Well, I didn't burn.
Ooh.
I roasted.
Chris roasted like
You
a friggin'
broiled.
lobster.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt it getting warm and I was like, people do this.
People do
lay
this.
here and
Yeah.
get a suntan. It can't be that bad.
Everyone
But
else
I-
is doing
But
it.
it was
man.
like we were laying there for like 45 minutes before we got up and did something else, and I just burnt my back. It was the next day when I realized it, and I was like,
it was so bad.
Was it
so
all peely and gross?
we couldn't really do
Yeah.
anything in Minot,
Yeah.
even if
well, it
there
was
was
Bernie
something
for
to
like
do.
2 days. It was just
Yeah.
hurting.
Yikes.
Anyways, so that's my bad. I didn't get a passport for then, but you did have to get a passport for our trip to Minot. You would have had to go through the same process.
Yeah,
Like,
but I
was-
knew that I had to bring my marriage certificate. and
I didn't
stuff.
I didn't
I did
remember
not
that.
have to use a fax machine. I just brought it all with
You
me.
missed out on such
Wait.
a thrilling educational experience.
So why did you need the fax machine?
Because
and
I
she
didn't bring my marriage certificate to the whatever
Service
office,
Canada
Service
or
Canada office where you
Passport
go to.
Canada
Yeah.
or whatever.
So at
Get
that
your
point,
passport.
they're like, well, you may as well just fax it in.
rather
Oh,
than
so
sitting
it
in
wasn't-
line for
it wasn't
3
worth
hours
you
again.
going back into the line,
Mhm.
showing
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
and them.
So I had to fax it to some like random phone number that they provided me with.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Gotcha. Okay, makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. I don't remember why I knew that you had to have it. I when I moved from Alberta, I lost my birth certificate though.
Oh dang!
And that
Not your sin.
no, correct.
Okay.
You have to go and get not the number, but the name changed on the SIN, but
Right.
yeah, and so I had to order a new birth certificate, and I had to have my marriage certificate for that because you have to prove that you are legally not the person that's
that you presently
or that
are.
you are the person but not the same name
Mhm.
or whatever. Yeah, so I think I
Yeah.
probably just brought every piece of identification. If I had been mugged, they could have just had my life.
Yeah.
Chris would have had a new wife.
There was a couple of years where I carried my SIN in my wallet. And
Yeah, I used to do that
heard
all
that
the
you
time.
shouldn't do that, but I also
And I was like, people don't get mugged.
well, I don't think I really. Yeah, I think
Identity
I
theft's
think I
not
was
a
a bit
thing.
cocky about it. I think I was like, it won't happen to me. I won't lose my wallet. I always know where it is.
And then you left your wallet at Superstore once. In a cart.
After I had no longer
Tragic.
been keeping this in it, and so that was a miracle that it was.
That
still
was
there.
terrifying.
So that was like a mini vacation because I was panicking, and
The
I
whole
panic on
time?
vacations.
You did panic on our vacation.
I keep my sin in my heart.
Oh. Greg.
Yikes. We don't have time to unpack that.
Let's move on.
Speaking of unpacking,
We're just talking about carrying sin all the time, so
side note, it drives me crazy when people say my SIN number. It's like,
Yes,
that's
because it's
the
number,
N stands
number.
for number, and I've seen it on government websites.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you don't have somebody proofreading this? Anyways,
They do. It's just normal.
so that trip that Holly and I took to Minot was part of an anniversary getaway. We tried to do some kind of, I don't want to say like a getaway, but we tried to do something that's travel related once a year because specifically for our anniversary, because it's a good reason, it's a good excuse to like force ourselves to do something.
Mm-hmm.
We feel okay spending a little bit of extra money that we might not have normally spent during the rest of the year doing it because we're celebrating. And I think last year we just stayed in the city, but
we
we
did a
went
staycation.
we stayed a couple nights at the one of the hotels, one of the really old hotels down by the river, and it looks really cool on the outside. It's meh on the inside. Sorry for anybody that stays at those like really fancy old hotels. There's one in Edmonton.
It's still an old hotel.
Yeah, there's one in
the
Edmonton.
rooms are still really small.
What's the Edmonton one that's like really fancy and old?
The McDonald, I think.
And that one sounds like it is nice.
They've
'Cause
done
it's-
some heavy renovations.
They've done some heavy renovations.
Yeah.
And the one in Saskatoon, the Besborough, that one it's like the facade.
Mm-hmm.
Or
Is
sorry,
beautiful,
facade.
yeah.
Yeah, the outside is really
The
nice,
outside,
and the
yeah.
inside is just still old. So
Mm-hmm.
it was okay. But then what we also did was we made sure that we like only ate out at places that
We basically
hadn't
didn't
gone.
drive anywhere.
Yeah,
We stayed downtown the whole time,
Yeah.
and that was a weird thing. Yeah, we only ate at places that we had never eaten at
Yeah, that's
before that
fun.
we could walk to downtown.
yeah.
And it did make the city feel like it was a whole different place.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then, so that's an example of like, we didn't really go anywhere, but we sort of did a getaway. But the Minot trip, like Holly was saying, we did a super slide thing just near the border the day before, stayed overnight in this small town, and then we went to Minot for the next like 4 or 5 days, and then came back. And I think the reason for that was because I was like, ooh, I've never been out of the country.
Oh,
And-
yeah.
Yeah.
And so this trip that we just took to Hawaii was like the second time I've been out of the country in 30 years. And
It was
I mean,
much larger.
I guess some people never leave the country, so it's not like a big
Yeah.
deal, but it kind of feels cool to have not only left the country, but gone to Hawaii. Doesn't feel just like the States. It feels like another place entirely.
Totally.
Not so aggressively another place that I couldn't live
Mm-hmm.
with myself. Like there's not like a different language and I don't understand anything. Like it's still very much America.
I can't imagine what
But-
your anxiety and stress level would have been if we had gone somewhere that didn't have English as its first language.
Yeah, I don't know.
I
Well,
think
I'm sure
I
we'll
would
experience
really
it someday,
struggle with that.
but-
Well, I think that I would struggle as well, but I'm a lot more laid back in traveling because I've done it a lot.
Mhm.
You know, like you just know that
Greg is smiling
it's
with
going
empathy.
to be okay. Yeah.
Understanding.
Yeah.
Well, you've probably been to lots of places that don't have English. as
Yeah,
a
but
first
I mean,
language.
I've been with my parents. They're the ones who like if something goes wrong, they're the ones who
They
are
had to deal
trying
with
to
it.
like,
Mom.
Mhm.
figure out how to like ask this in their butchered version of the language or whatever at the time. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, those
There
so
are
those,
phones now, so like
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's
There's Google
definitely more
Translate
accessible
now.
exactly,
now,
and
too.
even if it's not perfect, which it never will be, at least they'll get the gist of what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the reason that that getaways were a thing that we we did was because Holly did like traveling, and I didn't really ever travel. Especially like as a kid, I was thinking back, what kind of things did we do as vacations as kids or getaways as kids? And we had relatives that lived in a couple different places. Like there were some relatives in Calgary, and there were some relatives in Swift Current in Saskatchewan, and then there was we did a couple of trips, not to any relatives specifically, but to Banff. And so there were a few places like that where we would frequent on like over weekends, but those were like the extents of our vacations. We would also do like we'd tent at provincial parks in the summer every once in a while and stuff like that too. So those were my experiences with vacations or getaways. And so doing long trips to different countries was not a thing that I was ever familiar with. And so I didn't grow up doing it and didn't have this like desire or need to do it. But Holly was definitely like itching to do some kind of travel. And so this
Put me on a plane, baby.
Yeah, so this was kind of a way to do it. So
Although I throw up.
Yeah.
I throw up on the plane.
Yeah.
I didn't this time.
It's a love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. It really is.
So we did this Hawaii trip just recently, which is why we're talking about this or why this is forefront in our minds. And yeah, it was a really cool experience. But when I was thinking about when I was younger and the trips that I did, I think Holly thought of this too. Greg, did you guys go with your family on like trips anywhere? And if you did, what did those look like? Because people in other parts of the world like don't value the same things, and so depending on what culture you were kind of immersed in the time.
Like on our way back to Canada to visit family, we would pop by places. Like I do think that there would be sometimes like when we were living in Mongolia, we took the train down to Beijing and then like stayed at the hotel there. So it was like it was an overnight train trip. Like you have bunks and beds and stuff.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and my parents would give us Kinder Egg surprise toys to open for the trip to keep us occupied. So
that kept you occupied
like before
overnight?
you got over the border, or were you still in like? Was it still illegal territory for Kinder Eggs?
No.
Okay.
There was no illegal territory.
Okay.
Yeah. It was just
that
to
happened
keep us-
later.
Yeah.
Oh, is that a more recent development?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Smuggling in the eggs.
Wait,
what's happening?
In the
Kinder
States,
eggs are
they're not allowed.
illegal in some countries
Because you're not allowed to have
kids
like
choke on them.
You're not
In the
allowed to have
States?
things in chocolate or something like that, or things in candy that can be.
You
parents
barely
here-
survived that trip.
So wait,
Barely survived it. You
Because of
could
the
have
Kinder
choked and
Egg?
died.
Yeah.
On
Greg is
train,
a
no less.
survivor of Kinder Eggs.
The trauma.
We
Tell
had-
us your story.
We had a whole cracker box just filled with.
Do
like,
you or someone
tin
that you
box
know
filled
or
with
love has been?
Kinder Egg toys that we
Oh,
had already
all those
like.
crappy little
Yeah.
toys.
Oh,
I had
yeah.
a whole bunch of them too.
Yeah.
I had a
Yeah.
cousin that collected them, and there was a point when they had a set series of them. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't get different ones other than what there was for years. And she had duplicates of some of them, but I think she was pretty close to having them all. It was just like a thing. She would just get them for birthdays and Christmases.
We just
and
had
stuff.
bucket McDonald's toys.
Yeah, we
Same.
had that too.
Yes. Much larger
Similar
bucket because they're
idea.
much larger toys.
Yeah.
And like once every like 3 or 4 years it would be like a line of Furbies. So you'd always have the ones that
Yuck.
you tip them upside down, they'd be like
Yuck.
like the
Yeah.
cow noise. The little
We
had
cow
the,
sound things, but they're
oh,
Furbies.
What is the movie with the guy with like interchangeable arms that could like do different superpowery things? Oh my gosh, it's like right there at my brain. They had
Gumby?
no.
Oh, Inspector Gadget.
Yes.
Oh,
Interchangeable
the guy with
arms.
I would never
Figured
have
it
thought
out.
to think of it like that.
Greg
but
is very good at reading my mind with
Interchangeable?
very little information. Sometimes incorrect information.
Yeah,
This was a live demonstration of that.
that is not right.
The number of
That
times in my life
superhero.
that I'm like, what's that girl from that movie? There was the one that I really liked, and then the other one that what I didn't like, and Greg will know exactly who I'm talking about. It is phenomenal. We have spent far too much time with one another, and I love it.
gross. Anyways, Inspector
I'm pretty sure
Gadget.
this
Yeah,
could not do
there's
that for
Inspector
me.
Gadget.
You'll just look at me like,
Removable
What
arms
are
that
you
become other
talking
toys and
about?
weapons and things.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, back to your train
Yeah,
ride.
I mean this I mean we could go change this episode into talking about childhood toys, but we obviously have a
I
lot
think we
of
have enough
content
episodes about that.
there. Well, yeah.
Chris smiles with an idea sparkling in the corner of his eye.
I'm just thinking of a supercut where we like only talk about our childhood, which is like every episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. So essentially that's we would take a train down to Beijing, and then there'd be a hotel there, the Lido Hotel Holiday Inn.
Ooh, gotta
Yep.
love
Okay.
a Holiday Inn.
Yep. And across from it was a Baskin Robbins.
Donuts.
Yeah. And
Is
then
that a
also
Canadian
ice
thing at all?
cream
Is Baskin Robbins a Canadian thing, or
I
just?
see it more as a states thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think it's Robbins
It is
Donuts
more
and then
of a-
Tim Hortons.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't think I've ever had Baskin Robbins.
Yeah. It was delicious, and that's what I remember from those trips.
That's your
Oh.
cultural experience from China.
From China.
Yeah.
Donuts.
Baskin
I
Robbins
do-
at the Holiday
I
Inn.
do also remember
You
getting
could
a
also do that in like Edmonton.
Saskatchewan.
I remember getting a wonderful gum watch. So this is like
The watch was made out of gum.
No,
Gross.
no. Silly.
It was a plastic toy watch that dispensed gum.
It was kind of. It
Yeah.
was essentially like it was a huge it was massive
Yeah.
on your wrist, and it would essentially be like a little storage container for little gum pieces. And so you'd like snap it open, like pop open
Yeah.
the lid, and then you can close it and look at the time. You know exactly
it'd
what
always
time
be
you were eating your
rattling.
gum.
So if there was gum in
What
it, could
time
you
is it?
still see
Gum
the
time.
time?
Yeah.
Yeah, the
What?
time was on the top cover.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Time was on the top cover. So I remember that, and that has very fond memories in Beijing because there's a picture of me proudly displaying my gum watch in front of the Great Wall of China.
Greg's like eighth wonder of the world.
Look at this watch.
Person. So once upon a time, they put bodies in here of the people building the wall that would disobey, and Greg's like, click. Click.
Blows a bubble.
Yeah.
Just listening intently.
Yeah. So there you go.
Why can I still picture you doing that like today?
You may have seen the picture. But yeah.
That's
Anyways.
fun.
I can picture 28-year-old Greg just as jazzed
Oh,
about
you're talking about now,
his
yeah.
random watch.
Yeah, that's fair.
Maybe not a gum watch though.
Not a gum watch.
So good.
Oh, and I also had a spy watch. So cool. Had
That's a lot of watches.
yeah, I loved them. They were so cool.
I'm assuming these are just like the Walmart style.
Yeah,
Like it's
yeah.
way oversized for your wrist.
Yeah, it's way
and
oversized.
it
It just
doesn't
has
elec-
a bunch of random
Yeah, it
little
doesn't.
gizmos.
It
It doesn't
was,
electronic thing for
Dolce
5 minutes.
and Gabbana.
What?
Gum instead of
Gum.
banana.
I got it.
Wait, Dolce and banana?
What is happening?
Nothing. I just blanked on the actual name of the company. It's like Dolce and banana.
I love how you just
not
you
banana,
straight
is
went
it?
for it. You're
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's banana.
I thought that's what it was.
Confidence, Chris.
Chris is living tropical.
on earth?
Dolce and Gabbana.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But gum bana.
yeah.
Because it was a gum watch.
Yeah,
No.
that was
If
the
I was-
joke. If you
if I was
missed it,
more
captive
cultured-
audience.
If I was more cultured and knew the stores that were fancy, then maybe I would have gotten that.
Well, we were in Hawaii. They have
There was an outrageous amount
fancy stores.
of ridiculously expensive stores in
Oh.
Hawaii. There were outlet stores and stores in every mall that we went to for Chanel and Gucci and like a whole bunch of things.
Because when you're on vacation, that's when you need to spend more money
I guess
on
so.
stuff.
There was a lot of people going in.
Huh.
Like here, there's like one or two specific stores in the mall that are
Mhm.
fancy that I never see anyone in. Whoever's working in there looks like they are so bored they're going to die. Like, yeah, but there was lots of people going in and out, and I saw people carrying Chanel bags, and I was just like,
Wow.
who wants to spend $3,000 on shoes?
I guess if you
That
could
was my
afford to
whole
go to
vacation.
Hawaii.
I
That's
thought
like a-
that many times when I was there, but we were there, and
That-
like,
also true.
we can't afford to go to Hawaii. We went because it was supplemented, right?
Mhm.
Like, so there's, yeah. But I did have that thought several times. Oh, I guess if you can afford to go to Hawaii, but I was there, so
Probably just the fact that they're banking on people being in a spendy mood.
That's true.
Like
I
that,
guess
like
so.
you've
I
already
mean,
spent it
we
this
did
far.
spend money
It's
on
kind of like
things
when
that
you
we
go to
probably wouldn't have,
Disneyland
but-
and you're just like, well, yeah, I'll pay for this other pass to go to this other kingdom. We're here,
Where
right?
you go to
So-
Disneyland,
Yeah.
all the dinners are like $30
Yeah.
US.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even in Hawaii, all the dinners were like $30 US,
Mhm.
which is
Yeah,
ridiculous.
that was a weird thing. I was noticing prices where we were, and
gas prices.
gas prices were astronomical.
Well, gas prices
but
are
it's
like
also
by
an island.
they're like
Yeah.
what are they by
That's true.
gallons in the
Yeah,
States?
by gallons.
And so it was like
Mm.
5.32 and 9/10, and we were like,
Yeah, for
I was-
real.
I was like,
Platform 9 3/4.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
we were just standing there. We're like, is that expensive? That seems like a lot of money.
I don't have any
I can't compute
reference
what's
for
going on
this.
I
here.
know that it's coming up near $2 and over $2 in different
Yeah.
places in Canada right now. So I bet you
It was over
I bet you
$2
that's
there,
considered expensive here.
It was-
But I didn't sit down and do the math. I could have
Yeah.
just pulled up my phone and been like, how many liters in a gallon? Oh yeah, that's still expensive. But I just decided it was probably expensive.
Yeah. But it's an island as well, so
Mhm.
they have to bring it
Import
all in.
everything.
Mhm.
But yeah, the prices on everything were not. Sometimes it seemed like they were a slightly cheaper than we would have paid in Canada. But then I realized this is States. And so then the
Yeah.
conversion,
The US.
Mhm.
it makes it more expensive, if
Totally.
not at the very least the same amount as expensive
Mhm.
as in Canada. And so at that point I was just like, yeah, so we spent money on some like events and excursions or whatever that we wouldn't have done probably just around
But
Saskatoon.
that's why you're
Like, there's
there.
no
okay,
ocean.
here's a great example. There are hot air balloon rides in the summer in and around the city.
Oh, that's
And-
cool.
I would
I've-
absolutely pay to go on a hot air balloon
I have
ride.
a number of
Mhm.
times Googled it and been like, okay, maybe this year I'll be, and then I see the price for a single ticket and I'm like, no. But then we did a passenger submarine tour
So cool.
It was very
in
cool.
Hawaii,
Mhm.
and thinking about it, I bet you it's at the very least as expensive as what the hot air balloons
Mhm.
are, if not more expensive.
But you're
So when
at
you're
a
on
cool
vacation,
destination.
you're
Yeah.
like, ooh, I'm gonna spend more money. Like
You're
we
just
were
more
just
in that
talking
mode.
about.
Yeah.
and
right?
like part
So
of
maybe
part
not
of
Louis
going
Vuitton
there,
or Dolce & Gabbana
Yeah.
or Tesla expensive, but
There were
you know,
stores for Tesla. It was
Wow.
there were also
outrageous.
lots of Teslas actually on
Yeah,
the road.
actual
So,
Teslas.
anyways,
but
you were
it seems
saying.
like if you're going to a location, you have to expect to spend some amount of money on experiences there, because or
Mhm.
else you're just walking around and you don't get like your true bang for your buck of actually showing up and spending the time and the vacation hours and stuff like that to be at the location.
agree.
There is a certain amount of like stinginess when you're on vacation where you
So that you
might
can
as well just be home.
Well,
you know?
stinginess.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of stinginess where you save money because you know you're just going to spend it elsewhere as well. So
Oh,
there's
yeah,
like
yeah,
two.
that's
There's like
totally-
there are two
yeah.
kinds of it.
Like
Yeah.
wasting money
Yeah.
on like buying stuff on vacation, maybe not. But wasting money, quote unquote, on doing fun things while you're at vacation, that is part of vacationing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Mhm.
I've been on vacations with a person that wants to just sit on the beach and read like for an entire week. And I'm like, I can do that at Pike Lake, a half hour from Saskatoon. Like,
yeah.
Or you'd be willing to
I
do
could
that
do that.
for one day on your vacation,
oh, exactly.
but not a
Yeah, that's great.
destination and not for the whole week.
It was frequently
Right.
that you would see the Reimer family sitting in their hotel room, all of us just reading a book.
It's insane.
What?
Like, he's not joking.
But okay, but like a
Why did
caveat
you
would
go
just
there,
be
then?
like, it's okay. It was more like
Don't come back.
Read
it would-
on your bed.
it would
like-
No
tend
reading
to
allowed.
be. It would tend to be though that like that would tend to happen more like if we were doing kind of more of a staycation type thing, like where if we
Mhm.
were just wanting to go get a hotel room and like just get away from the house, like disconnect from life and stuff, and yeah,
Like that's
Still weird.
That's fair.
still weird.
I mean, I spend a lot of time reading. I don't think it's bad to read on your vacation, but if I'm going to spend the money to go to a
Mhm.
new place,
Mhm.
I want to see the new place and experience the new place.
So the Reimer family, and I'm sure we'll end up mentioning this again later in the podcast. So maybe this is just foreshadowing. Ooh, setting the mood. Ooh, so cool. But
Never been done.
brand new idea. Is the Reimer family including myself, always goes to.
I was trying to decipher that word in my mind on the fly, and I was
then
like,
I saw a seal in my head.
yeah, I'm a seal. My seal.
like, what is
mycelium network. Myself.
Mycelium. You went to mycelium? That's smart.
Anyways.
Myself included.
What accent is this? It's so bad.
It's a new one.
Comic gold. So
Comic Sans Gold.
Yeah.
I'm so annoyed at you guys, but I love you too. Greg's family would go to Banff.
Remember that time Ashlyn
golly.
went myself like 5 seconds ago?
and
That
then
was
never
funny.
lived it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fun.
Okay, moving on.
Greg's family would go to Banff every single summer.
Mm-hmm.
And so how they structure their Banff trip is they'll have days where they go on hikes and then days where they stay in Banff. And the whole family gets so excited for Banff days, or sometimes it's just one, depending on how short the trip is, because they want to maximize hiking. But Banff Day is when you go to the Banff Public Library and you squat on this chair that doesn't have enough padding and you charge your phone and read. All day. You leave halfway through to go grab McDonald's, head back to the library and read some. We're in Banff.
What?
I am a fast abandoner of library day and be like, peace out, guys.
And we all
Gonna
know
go
how
do
much
something
Ashlyn
else."
loves the
Ashlyn
library.
loves the
you
library.
love the library.
But I-
She
on vacation.
abandons the library on vacation. She's like,
Ashlyn, you sicken.
Where are your morals?
I would never let
dear.
a boring library get between vacation and myself. Honestly.
They don't even have cards. They just sit there.
like game cards.
That is crazy.
Library cards, Greg.
Greg has never been to a library.
We have a whole episode on it. You should listen back. They're really fun
I definitely
things.
thought you were talking about game cards.
Game
Like they don't
cards.
even have any game cards. They just
What's
sit
a game
there
card?
Like playing cards?
playing cards.
Oh, I think I was like, what's a game card?
It's one that they flip over and it's like, run around this stack of books 3 times.
No, I thought it was like
It's a game to go to the library.
a preloaded dollar amount for like the Xbox or something like that. And I was like, why?
Like a
Why are you?
gift card for the PlayStation Store.
Like, why is this the thing that he thought
This
of?
makes the library trip.
I mean, that's money. Like, it is money. So if you could get some of those at the library, I guess.
Game card.
Wow.
We did do very specific planning for like, we were going to be out in the sun all day one day. And then we wanted to do some indoor, like kind of lower key day stuff the next day.
There's low
But
key, and then
that's
there's
really
bottom of the
low-key.
freaking barrel. Love you, Reimer family, and whoever else is listening to this podcast. But there's a reason I abandoned library day.
Next
What
year,
do you do?
Ashlyn was
I wander
inexplicably
around.
left off of the
You
trip
just wander
invite.
around
I go to all the shops. I make new
walk
friends.
around the river.
just by yourself.
Yeah.
So wait,
I go
this
to
is
the
go
park.
with you.
This is a whole
I
day that they
sometimes
spend
go
at the
with her.
library.
I went to a
Let's-
waterfall one time. I just walked from the city.
I
From
did not
like
go
the city
with
of
her
Banff.
for that.
It was a very nice waterfall.
You
Took
just-
some videos, sent it to Greg at the library.
I was
Just
reading a
walked
really
into the
good book.
wilderness?
Yeah.
So what's the point behind that day? Like, what's the
The
purpose
point is
behind
mostly
it?
to charge our phones. Let's be honest.
But they get so
Is there
jazzed about
Is
it.
there no charging in the hotel room or whatever?
Yeah.
There's no power in where you're staying?
Oh wait, are
Correct.
you guys tenting?
We are tenting
Oh,
on
good Lord.
non-electrified
This
sites.
is a terrible, terrible vacation.
No,
I don't know why you do it every year.
You're missing the point. The library's the terrible part. Everything else rocks.
Tenting is the worst thing ever. All right. Okay. Psycho.
no, but we actually.
I mean,
What are you
Greg's
trying
gonna
to say?
Greg's gonna defend himself.
defend charging his phone day.
no,
I mean,
I won't
it's
go
perfectly reasonable. I would want to charge my phone too.
there. Right.
I would assume that the
Yeah, but we
camping
would stay in a
spot,
place that had power.
Well, I assume that the camping spot would have like an outlet or an
No.
adapter for it.
Le-
But if you don't buy one of those
That's-
parking spots that
that's
has
Arabic
water
for no.
or, okay, well,
We're just talking about vacations.
yes. If you don't have one of the tenting spots that has the power or the water going to it, you would have to bring like a battery brick along or something like that. So I can understand, but you must only go for like a weekend trip then or something.
No, we go for a week, but you
only have to charge your phone once?
You charge your phone when you're in the car on the way to and from whatever hike you're doing.
Oh, and so then if there's a day or 2 days where there's no hike,
Sometimes
then
there's not enough
Gotcha.
plugins for everyone to charge their phone.
Oh, for sure.
So it's really only the favorite sons who get to charge it.
Greg
on that
always
trip.
drives, so he always get priority
That's true.
because he has to
priority
do Google
charging.
Maps.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's true.
I'd be in the back
he
seat, be
yearns
like,
for
"Left
library
turn,"
day.
just so that I can get a charge.
Library Day's the best.
No, but
Oh,
so
dear.
I do have a battery brick as well, but yeah, we were regularly charging our phones like every morning before we left the condo that we were staying at. We
Yeah.
would charge our phones. I just didn't want to
I
have to
think-
worry about it during the day.
I
at
think
all.
what this brings up is an interesting thing about vacations is that the meaning and purpose of vacations are different depending on the person going on the vacation.
100%.
Right here,
The
we have a
priorities of
diversity
the
of views
vacation.
when it comes to
Yeah.
camping. Black tents, black, no electricity.
Yeah.
I've heard that being said. But
Black,
then
no
Ashlyn's
electricity.
like,
That's me
yeah,
right now.
tenting, camping, woo! You
It's
know,
fun.
so I think it just depends on the people.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yes, Library Day might be a great celebratory thing in the Reimer family. But does that mean that it is wrong? No. It is right for us.
It's totally fair. I wasn't.
do what you want. I
Yeah.
still think you're a psychopath.
I feel like that was the ending of a short children's novel.
Yeah, that the moral of this story
Sorry,
is
yeah.
that we're all okay.
And Margaret said to Annalyn, but library day is important to some of us. The end.
it's gone with the wind.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
When planning what we were going to be doing for the Hawaii trip, we actually used the itinerary layout on
That we came up with?
Google
Yeah.
Sheets or
Yeah,
Google
he just
Numbers or
duplicated it.
Excel, whatever Google's version of Excel is
Yeah.
called. And we used that from the trip that we were going to take.
Did we talk about the trip that we were going to
No,
we haven't really
I don't
talked
think
about
we
it.
did.
I think we've
Just
mentioned it
heavy
once
foreshadowing.
in the past.
Heavy
Heavy
foreshadowing.
foreshadowing.
But yeah. So back in 2018, we
Mhm.
were all jazzed about Hamilton being
musical.
a musical, and it had been out for a few years by that point. But for some reason, I think you two ladies had listened to the soundtrack many a time.
Yeah.
Greg and I had maybe heard it once each,
Or
off and on, or
two
parts of,
songs
or,
from
or
it.
like a couple of songs from it.
A lot of
And
times.
I was moderately
Yeah.
interested. You were moderately interested.
I
We-
was interested for the ladies.
yeah.
You don't like it at all?
I didn't have any connection with it at that time.
Oh,
I
but you've
didn't-
seen it now.
Yes.
I enjoy
It was great.
musicals enough
It was
to
great.
to be like, oh, this I've heard some of the songs, they sound fun.
Mm-hmm.
And Holly was constantly like, this whole, I don't think that this musical has non-singing story in it. I think it's
Yeah.
all song to song to song to song to song. I'd be very
Mhm.
surprised if there's content in between the songs. I was like, that's completely possible. And so being somebody that has enjoyed musicals from childhood, that's something that my mom and dad got me into. I was very keen to check it out, and so we made this trip plan and then got passports renewed or updated or whatever we did, and then
well, we both woke up early to try to get tickets for Hamilton as well, because it was like a raffle thing that was
Right.
kind of
Oh,
like
yeah.
that was a whole process.
that was a whole process.
What do you remember?
We also
what number you were in line? Like
I
I
can't
was
remember.
I was
I
like
think-
6,000.
I think it ended up being that I was the one who ended up buying them, right?
Yeah,
'Cause
'cause
I
you
got
got
in
in
a little
first.
bit
You got in
earlier,
earlier.
but like,
But there was definitely still a
Oh,
very
man.
large demand for these tickets,
yeah.
even though the musical had been on since like how many years had it been out? Was it like 2012 or even earlier
It had
that it
been-
was? It was
yeah.
a long time.
It took a little while for it
Anyway.
to get popular, though, too.
Mhm.
I
right?
guess so.
Yeah.
And so
And then
We-
also like
we
the
stayed up early, got up real early,
Yeah.
like 6 o'clock our
And
time.
this
or
wasn't
something.
even Broadway. This was Toronto.
We
we were planning to go to Toronto.
So we're
It
going
was
to
the-
all the way to Toronto,
yeah.
which
There's the
I have
touring
never
cast.
been.
Yeah, with
So-
the touring.
And
cast.
just
Yeah.
to say, like this is a trip that we were going on with Chris Rempel, who
Yes.
loves to plan. Like
Yes.
we actually poured in a good chunk of time into the whole planning session.
Yeah.
of
So
it,
this
like,
Excel spreadsheet
this Excel
thing,
spreadsheet that we had
that was
created,
actually, I think, Ashlynn's idea.
Ashlynn did, yeah.
Mhm.
But then we had 5. I still have the documents. We have 5 of
Nice.
them that were
Wow.
there was like an itinerary
I
sheet.
made the best budget for Hamilton.
There was a budget
best.
sheet. There was a sheet that I made up of like we have a CAA membership, so there was discounts that we could get there. There was a couple of other sheets. I think it was like places that you guys wanted to go that we tried, and we even had dates on the calendar that we had made that were like, if it's rainy this day, that was because one of the things we were going to do was go to Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
And it was right at the very end of their spring season. And so depending on if it was raining that day, we didn't want to buy the like passes ahead of time and not be able to use them. But there were certain passes you couldn't buy until the summer season that were cheaper. So we had this whole plan about like, if it's raining that day, we can swap the 2 days around and save money.
I think we ended up calling them multiple times in the process to be like, okay, explain this pass
we for
system.
sure
Your
emailed and
website
called.
is not helpful.
Figured it out. Like, and like that was part of that, like, we know we're going to be spending money, so let's save money before we spend it so that we have more to spend on what we actually want to do. And we had this whole thing. We
heard
flight tickets and everything, and
whispers of COVID.
Whispers.
At first.
It was
and
far
then-
away across the world.
And then it came here, and then we were like, oh. And then I think there was still definitely a time where we were like, we could still potentially be going.
Yeah, there was
right at the
international
cusp.
travel was shut down, but domestic travel
But domestic
was still
travel was
happening.
still okay.
Yeah.
And then just
before
everything
our
went
travel
crazy.
shut down,
Yeah.
Hamilton shut its doors.
Yes.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
everything started
We
to
were like,
lock
okay,
down,
well-
and traveling was still happening, but things weren't
And then
happening.
it took forever to get a refund on those airplane tickets.
Which I
did.
imagine it took forever for everybody.
My
I think it was about
goodness.
6 months before we got it back from coupon to cash.
Yeah.
I think it took about 6 months for us, but we got it back. So I'm not
That
like
was
stressed
nice.
about that anymore. But
Anymore,
like,
yeah.
but like, but yeah, no, like planning those things, we made a conscious effort to do like, okay, we'll do one big and one small activity a day. Because the one thing that I hear about people going on vacation is they do like 12 things a day and you don't
Yeah.
enjoy any of them.
Because
You're
you're
just
tired.
Because you just
Yeah.
run from thing to thing to thing to thing. And we did the same thing in Hawaii. We did one activity in the morning, one activity in the evening or
Wow.
afternoon, and then sometimes we did an activity in the evening. But
Wow.
sometimes it was late enough in the day. Yeah. Really fun. I have to go find that sound effect because we like
Yeah.
Oh my god!
yeah. Everybody was very impressed. But that was also to like pace ourselves so that we didn't feel bad about like, because the other thing that I was thinking of was I talked to many people that knew that we were going, and I knew that everybody that knew we were going was going to have a different, like, did you do this when you were there? And you can't do all the things that everybody thinks that you're going to do. But everybody always feels like, oh, like you should, like, okay, did you do a luau when you were there? No, we didn't do a luau because it was like really expensive. Oh, you should have done a luau. I can't believe you went all the way and didn't do a luau because, like, yeah, it's expensive, but it's worth it because you're already there. That kind of a thing. But it's like, but we did 15
You can
other
overload
things.
yourself with
yeah,
that,
it's like,
yeah.
but we did 15 other things. Now we did do a luau. I should say.
The truth is,
but-
we did do a luau.
Oh, fun.
And it
But-
was called Rockahula. And it had both an Elvis impersonator and a Michael Jackson impersonator.
Oh gosh.
It was actually a really good show. It was a highlight for both of us, I
But
think.
we got a discount on it, which is why we ended up doing
did.
it. Otherwise, we probably
Was
wouldn't have done
BOGO.
it. But anyways, everybody that we knew that we were going was likely to have a different "Did you do this?" kind of comment, and I just decided like, no, we didn't spend every day, even part of every day at the beach. Yes, it's Hawaii. I understand that like the water's great. But we also wanted to see a bunch of other things. And so we did a couple different activities at the water, but they were different activities on those days. They weren't all the activities weren't sitting on the beach for 3 hours in the morning.
Well, and that would
You
have
know,
been
so-
a vacation for someone else, right? Because
Right.
you
Or if you've
personally
been to Hawaii multiple
would have
times,
been
maybe.
absolutely miserable to sit on the beach more than 4 hours. Like you
Well,
just hated it.
You're like, I
Yeah.
can read a
That's not
book
a
in an
vacation.
air-conditioned room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't need to be uncomfortable.
And so like I was willing to do some stuff for the sake of the fact that I'm not the only one going on the trip, and it is a
Thanks.
different place, and we
I appreciate that.
yeah. But like also if there's a return trip in the future ever, then we can double up on some of those things or likely do different things. But yeah, I didn't want to get stuck doing just one activity the whole time. And so that's why I like the scheduling. and that's why I liked our scheduling. And I know it never did work out, but
Would have been a
haven't-
stellar trip.
I haven't deleted
fun.
deleted documents from it because like you never know. Maybe at some point in the future. It doesn't have
Well,
to
it
be.
sounds
a
like we all
musical,
want to go to
but-
Disney.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then I know some people that
The
have planned
best
that
Disney
trip, and it
trip.
takes a long time to plan that if you're doing
A
it
lot of
yourself.
money.
Yeah, but
Well,
you can.
yes and
again,
no.
you can save money if you're doing it yourself, but it takes a long time to figure out how to structure the trip. in
What's
such
nice
a way,
about
so.
Disney though is that you like other than food,
Mm-hmm.
you basically buy like one thing, and that is your Disney passes. That's your entertainment for the week.
Yeah, you don't have to plan different
Mhm.
activities. Although within those passes, you would
Then there's
want to
different stuff,
plan
but-
which place you're going to
Mhm.
and where. And if you want to do Universal
You can do
Studios,
some of that
then
on the
that's
fly,
a whole
though.
different pass because that's not Disney. And yeah,
Mhm.
Yeah, but it's not
Um,
Disney, so why would you go?
because Universal Studios is still really cool, and you're there,
Jaws
so
ride.
why wouldn't you, right?
Jaws ride, Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Do they still have that? I know that the Back to the Future ride or set piece that was there caught on fire a number of years ago.
Oh,
I don't think
yeah,
they
I
ever
don't know.
restored it fully,
They
but
may
maybe
not
I'm.
I went to Disney World once as a kid.
Really?
And all we did was Disney World. Like we didn't, we
Okay.
weren't at any other location. Just at
Is
because there's
Disney
like 4
World
parks.
California, or is Disneyland California and Disney World is
I think
like
Disney
Florida
World is
or something?
Florida.
Like
Disney World is Florida.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think
Yes,
so.
that's Orlando.
Yeah.
okay, Orlando, Florida. Okay,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then Anaheim is land.
Okay.
I feel pretty confident on that, but if somebody decides to go on a
I'm pretty
rant,
sure you're correct.
then feel free. But yeah, we went to Disney World. I went when I was 12. The context of the trip was just lost a family member, and so somebody from our church decided, you know what, this family needs Disney tickets. So we went as a family of 3.
okay.
Newly family of 3. I remember it being just a few months after, and I think it was like just a few months after. And so it was a fun trip, and we had like it was a good time of making memories, the 3
Blew
of
off
us.
some steam.
But at the same time, I also remember it being like a lot of like happy stimulus for a family that wasn't prepared to just feel happy all the time
Yeah.
and
That's fair,
wanted
yeah.
to have some range of emotion. And it was like just like flashing lights and Disney and you're so
Yeah.
excited and this is the happiest place on earth and
Yeah.
you're like still grieving a little bit.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy it and I think it was a lot of fun and I would like to go back again and have new memories of Disney World. Wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
Fair.
But I was young enough so that you didn't need a passport. You just need a Saskatchewan ID card.
Oh.
really?
You can get, for kids, at least at the time, these Saskatchewan ID cards that look exactly like driver's license, but they say in big bold letters, this is not a driver's license. But I had one that had like my little 12-year-old face on it, and that's all we needed to travel with.
To get across the
That's so
border.
nice.
Yeah.
What the heck?
So
And did you
children-
fly or drive?
Children can't be
Fly.
drug
Do you
mules.
remember? Okay.
But that being said, we went with my mom, and she's a dual citizen. So she's a
Oh.
citizen of the U.S. and Canada. 'Cause
Oh, I
she was
didn't know
born
that.
in Texas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so if you wanted to get into like any of my like password security, that's where my mother was born.
Oh boy.
All right, noted.
Won't tell you the city.
Texas. Texas.
Secure
1, 2, 3.
still.
Texas 1, 2, 3. Question mark.
So she's a dual citizen, so it was easier for her to fly down. Well, easier with an asterisk because we had just lost a parent. All the airports thought that she was trying to steal the
take her
kids and
kids.
run away. So
Mhm.
thankfully, she brought the death certificate
Wait.
with us, or
Yeah.
we never would have made it
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
Why would they
that's
think
a
that
thing.
just because?
Because she's a dual citizen. She can buy land, she can get a job, she can have a whole life there and take the kids with her
And then it would be extremely hard for
anyone to track
Dad.
her down.
to track her down.
Well, what if the dad was traveling by himself with the kids?
Well, he
Same
obviously
thing.
wasn't with the group.
Yeah, but
No,
I just
but
feel
it's
like
the
that's
same.
a weird
It's the
assumption
same
to
thing
make.
when you are a parent. You have to have proof of either your marriage or the death of your spouse, or that they have given permission for their kids to be taken
But
across
it was
borders.
extra suspicious because she was a dual citizen,
Yeah.
Well,
and
anytime-
he wasn't.
Anytime you're
Mhm.
at the border, their job is to be as suspicious as possible.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
Twas.
Yeah.
well,
Twir.
fun story about
Twir.
our. It's not a terribly amusing story. It's just like a little memento-sized story. But we went.
That was a
we-
good movie.
You
We went
choose the
through-
cubic square centimeters after he's done.
Yeah. we went through security in Vancouver on the way out of Vancouver to Honolulu. So for this trip to Oahu.
By security, you mean customs?
Sorry, customs. No, well, it was, I can't remember if it was just before or just after. So it was the part where the guys have the camera and they take the photo of you and then they ask you a couple of questions. But that wasn't the same as like scanning all of your items in your luggage.
It's customs. You're talking about customs.
Both things together are customs?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was one part of that process, and the guy says, what are you coming through? Like business or pleasure? Oh, pleasure. Okay. Do you have any food with you? Just kind of like he's obviously asked this question a million times a day. Or do you have any liquids with you? And we said no, because we had to dump them out or drink them before we got to that point anyways. Do you have any food with you? And Holly said no, and I was about to say no, and then I remembered that I had bought some like airline snacks and I had them in my bag. And I was like, just some like snacks. And I was like, crap, I know that you're not supposed to like take food or drink through this like checkpoint or whatever. And he just kind of like looks up at me like not even phased by me being like, oh no, I'm admitting to having this food in my bag. And I was a little bit worried that there's going to be this whole thing and that I would have to, I was like, could I just leave it here? Like in my mind, I'm already prepping to
it's just peanuts.
Yeah. Like it's just
Pringles.
It's just
please.
Pringles and
Please
bits
don't
and
take me
bites
to
or whatever.
jail.
Yeah.
And he was like, no, we mean like fruits or vegetables or meats or something like that. I was like, oh no, don't, nothing like that. But there's like that moment of panic, and I was like, I thought I prepared for this.
We'll spend the next month here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be detained.
Yeah.
But
And we had COVID, and then I'm gonna get detained even longer.
Actually, fun story is that we could have just come back. Like, there's nothing stopping us from coming back. So
Canada's open to
the
people
border
who have COVID now.
It's the state. For the States, we had to take a test before we left to go into the States. But on the way back, as long as you're fully vaccinated, there's no. Even if you're unvaccinated, you just have to have a proof of
A PCR or just a rapid?
just.
It was
we
a
took a rapid going
test
but you could
going
get-
there.
but
that
coming back, you
needed
could
to
have done
be
either.
seen by someone virtually. Like you couldn't leave the screen, kind of deal.
Interesting.
It was it was a digital one, but you could do ones in person. You could do a PCR. You could
Yeah.
do any of the tests. Any of the tests were acceptable, from the $50 cheapest ones online to the $70 in person to the $400 2-hour turnaround time lab ones that you do across the city. You could do any of those to get into the States. And then coming back, the malls, we always saw the malls when we were when they were closed, when we were going for like a supper out or something, but they had these big signs that are like $140 test or something like
Rapid
that.
tests.
Rapid tests are like super
tests
expensive.
in Hawaii. Yeah, it was crazy.
But anyways, so like
I did get chosen as a random. You have to take a COVID test when you get back to Canada, like on our way back in.
you got that in Canada because Canada still does
Vancouver
that. They do
gave me
random
that.
spot checks.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But it's not like she wouldn't have been detained, especially since she had proof of full vaccination. So even if you're unvaccinated, you just have to show a proof of a negative test within 24 hours or something like that. But yeah, so that's like a trip that we went on, a trip we never went on together. Do you guys have any like couples trips other than tenting?
Yeah.
Other than tenting.
like
Any
like
exciting ones that
Any-
don't include
any
library
vacation-
days?
have you been out of the province together is
It
what I
did
want to
include a
know.
library day,
It did
though.
include a
Did
library
it?
day.
Yeah. It was
wow.
like a cool library day,
But
though.
it was a cool library.
Oh, I see how it is.
So the one that we're both thinking of, because we can read each other's minds, is naturally is Halifax. We decided to go to Halifax for our honeymoon.
That's
And
fun.
a part of the reason for that was actually something that's already kind of been mentioned. You guys were talking about how people always say, well, did you do this? Well, did you do this? Oh, you didn't really go to Hawaii if you didn't do this.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all of those things. And that doesn't really happen when you go to Halifax.
You know?
You've never
'Cause
really
they're
lived
like,
in Canada
"Have you
unless you've been to
this
Halifax.
pub? Have you been to that pub?
Yeah, no, people are like, oh, so you went to Halifax? Cool.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they know nothing about it.
Yeah.
Was there
Yeah.
colored buildings? That's St. John's. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm just making it up. Yeah.
Yeah. So we ended up going there, and like we definitely had the option of like we could have potentially gotten a car and kind of driven around and checked out a few different things, but we ended up just like
We were still under 25, so you had to pay the extra like money
it was
Oh,
if you wanted
for
to rent a
renting a
car
car.
because we're high risk.
yeah.
Is that still a thing?
It
Well,
was at least at the
I think
time.
it's a thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we decided to just like not do that and just stick with either walking or using the bus.
Mhm.
And yeah. So yeah, and it was great because it was just like one of those vacations where we didn't end up like having a bunch of obligatory activities that we had to do and to cram our schedules with. It was literally just kind of like, what do we want to do today? And we just kind of walked around.
And I know some people who have kind of like delayed their honeymoons, but we left like the morning after the wedding for
Wow.
like the
So
morning
you were
flight
tired.
out. So we were exhausted.
Yeah.
And I really hope that this marriage works out, if for no other reason that I do not want to plan another wedding. And for many other reasons of
High
their,
stakes.
like, wonderful qualities.
Yeah.
But I am grateful for the wedding that we had, and I don't want to do it again.
That's fair. Weddings are a lot of work.
No
Yeah.
way.
I mean, don't
I'll
use.
plan that.
I would say
I'll plan it for
maybe
you.
don't use that as a reason to not ever get married again.
I mean,
don't
we had
think
a ton
we'll
of
have-
amazing help on it, but
we're not
yeah,
going to
it
have
was-
a big renewal of vows at any point
Okay.
and do another wedding. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
And so I was really exhausted, and what we needed was like a time away that was also just a break. And Halifax was perfect for that. There's just the right amount to do, so you can go visit the gardens, go walk in this nice like community area, and it's by the ocean, but it's not like booze and beaches ocean. It's like walk around and grab a tea
Yeah.
ocean, which is much more my speed anyways. And it was far more relaxed because it's essentially Saskatoon but with an ocean
Yeah.
is what Halifax is.
We ended up just extending our time there a little bit, right?
Mhm.
Like
we were
did
going to
it
do
too.
7 days and
Yeah.
rent a car and drive around the East Coast and like go to
Oh.
PEI and stuff like that. But then as we got closer to the wedding and as Ashlynn got more and more tired and just wanted a break, we canceled the rental car and put that money into the hotel and extended it from 7 to 10 days.
Yeah.
And then had 10 days of
Just to
like really not
chill
doing
and-
too much.
Yeah.
And it was perfect.
You didn't get bored?
No,
No,
it was
good.
really nice.
Yeah, it was nice. And what was nice is also like, if and when we do go back, there's lots of stuff that we didn't end up doing.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Oh,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that that's the case for most people that travel.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
the other thing,
Anywhere, yeah.
that like, I know that my parents have traveled in the past. I think mostly before having kids, because that's like when you have the time and the energy to do it. But the one thing that my mom would always say to me was, it's not really worth traveling if you can't be gone for like a minimum of 10 days and even 2 weeks is better. And I was like, that's a lot of money. Like you have to have a lot of money in order to do that. Because of rental vehicles or hotels even are quite expensive. But then I was thinking about it and it's like,
And a flexible job.
yes.
Yeah.
But like the other thing
10
was
days
if
is a
you
long
have
time.
if you have vacation days, then you can just kind of forget about the job situation. But
It's
it's
a lot of vacation days.
Yeah.
but well, yeah, if you save them up for a year, maybe. But
Yeah.
the first and the last day are basically write-offs anyways, because you're just spending the time
Yeah.
traveling, and that's assuming that you fly somewhere and don't just drive. Because like when we went to Minot, the way that we did it was by going to this super slides place on the first day. So we traveled all the way to where the slides would be and stayed overnight. And I think we did the slides the next day and then went back to the town nearby overnight for the second night, and then left for Minot on the morning of the second full day, technically
Right.
the third day.
Yeah.
And so we kind of spread it out that way so that the traveling wasn't all at once, because that's one thing
nice.
that I can't handle doing is like we have friends that have driven from their home in Ontario to like camp or a place nearby the camp that we all were at in the summer times, and they would like, oh yeah, it's a 16-hour trip. I drive 9 hours, then I pull off to the side of the road and I sleep for 4, and then I drive the rest of the way. And I'm just like, first of all, that's sketchy to me.
Yeah.
Just sleep. Like maybe they pulled off like well off onto the side, like maybe on a side road
Small town.
or something, but they would sleep in their car and they would just sleep there for 4 hours, get up in the middle of the night and drive the rest of the way, because then they were re-energized. And I can't get 3 hours away from the city before I'm just like, I'm just heavy nodding off heavily, and like I'm listening to a podcast or an audiobook, or we even have to switch it up and listen to music, and Yeah. So that's traveling. The traveling part of traveling is not in my blood, but like the being there and doing activities, as long as they're spread out so that I'm not like dead tired at the end of the day. That's like, I'm totally happy to do that, especially obviously if I'm interested in the activities, because I feel like that's how
I can
everybody
definitely
works.
drive for like hours on end. Though.
Greg can. He's the
Yeah.
driver.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and we don't really like take breaks. It's just
No, you can just go.
So
I can
I'm not
do
built that way.
yeah,
I'm not
5 or
enough.
6 hours without having much trouble. But it depends what we were doing beforehand. Like sometimes when we drive home from the farm, I'm sleepy and like nodding off.
Well,
No.
usually when we travel out
But-
to your parents' place,
I'm
because
awake
it's-
the whole time
because
going
it's only
out.
like a 4.5 hour drive. We go on the weekend right after work, and then we get there by like 10 o'clock by the time the sun's down.
right.
And I also don't like traveling in the dark, because then it's hard
No.
for me to see because it's dark. Like,
Aw.
you have the occasional
Christopher.
well-lit, moonlit night, but not always.
No,
And
Greg can drive for like 9 hours straight.
That's crazy.
Like stop once to pee and just keep going.
like so what is it that you do to keep your, like, do
I
you
think I just have a job that is very like monotonous, and then I listen
So
to
you
podcasts
practice
and
every
music.
day?
I do it every day. Like, so I think it's just a similar thing where you're just doing like you're just doing the same thing. You're
Doing the
driving
task.
straight and
Mhm.
trying to keep your eyes open and watch for deer and
No, Greg will turn on a podcast and it'll be one that he'll like put on because it's something I'm more interested in. And like 20 minutes later, I am unconscious.
yeah. And then
I'll
I'm like,
wake
I
up-
should have
Yeah.
switched to my theology podcast.
Yeah.
yeah.
But now I have my partner who would normally be switching the podcast is now asleep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yes,
when I
pullovers.
drive
Yeah.
and Chris falls asleep, we're usually listening to like a Star Wars audiobook or something.
Mhm.
And then he'll wake up a little while later and be like, I don't know
Remember
what
what
happened.
happened.
Oh,
And I'll be
no.
like, okay, I guess I'm listening to the whole
Again.
chapter again.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever re-listened to a huge section. I think mostly it's like, what did we just listen to?
Yeah, usually you just
I
ask
remember
for a
these
summary.
parts as I was like
Yeah.
fading in and out of consciousness, and then
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't make sense why. It's, because I didn't hear the whole story.
Yeah.
Are there any like staple events that you have to do when you're on any kind of like trip or vacation somewhere? Like, is there like, it
I mean,
kind
we
of
already talked
seems
about
like the
the one
library.
staple event.
Yeah.
The library is
No,
a
I was
theme.
talking about the fax machine. That was the staple event.
Oh, Staples
Hilarious.
event. Haha.
Holy.
It was good.
If you have to try to convince us, it was not.
Nah, I liked it. Okay, continue.
It's very clever. But like, okay, for example, I know that my boss says that he likes to go to movies when they're on vacation,
No, we do that.
because he likes to
Yeah,
have
we did
like
that
a
too.
section of time when
Yeah.
you're in an AC building, especially in the summertime. But also he feels like a movie is a fun, like, and I don't disagree with him, but it's like a fun getaway type activity. Like, going to the movies, I think, is fun. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with
Most
doing it on
people
a
don't do it
vacation,
as much as
but-
we do, though.
Right, but it is I can see why some people would balk at it, because it's like you're going, halfway around the world and you're going to go
Mhm.
watch a movie that you can just watch in Canada. It's like, well,
But the theater experience is different in every country you go to.
I don't know if that's even like a good enough reason. I think
I
or not a good enough reason, but I don't even think that has to be the reason. It's just like,
No.
I wanted to do something fun, and that's a fun thing to do. So
Yeah.
I went and did it.
At
Greg-
least one Banff day.
Oh yeah, is
Will be-
always
will be
movie day. They probably line it up with library day just to
But
to
you
make
know
sure I
what
have
we
a
do?
great time.
We recognize that Ashlynn does not enjoy the violent movies,
So-
and so we don't.
Oh,
plan to
you
go
don't rent
to
one, you go
violent
to a movie.
Banff
That's a shame.
has one theater,
Mhm.
Yes.
and they set the
It's
AC
old, right?
at like -50 in there.
Oh, no.
Which makes no sense because everybody just came from outside. You're wearing shorts and a t-shirt and are not
Yeah.
prepared for that weather, and I freeze the whole time, and I do not like the Banff movie experience because I'm too cold.
Do you
Do
know
you know-
about it in
you should-
advance that you can just bring a
Yeah,
sweater
bring a
or
sweater with
shorts?
I think
or
I did last time, and I
sweatpants to
I
put
wasn't
on?
prepared enough.
Tried
It's like
real hard.
landmark here.
Yeah.
They
Next
sell
time I bring
blankets
those
at
like
the
little
front.
chemical hand warmers.
Extra socks.
Yeah.
Somebody's like, "Oh, Ashlynn brought seasoning for the popcorn." It's like, no,
No.
Just shaking this bag and
Yeah.
then shoving it
And
under my
shoving it under
armpits.
your armpits.
Ashlynn pulls like
That's
a
so
winter
cold.
parka out of her purse and just ready
Would
to
you go on a cold vacation then? Would you
Oh.
go to Alaska or
I don't, no.
Russia?
Okay,
I've never been on a cold vacation. I don't think I've ever had a desire to go on a cold vacation. No, thank you. I live in a cold vacation.
I live in a cold vacation.
If I want to go to a cold vacation, I go anywhere that has AC. That's a cold vacation.
Okay.
So why is it acceptable to not want to go to like Alaska or somewhere super cold, like way up northwest, or way up to the Northwest Territories or something like that? But when somebody's like, "Oh, we're gonna go to Hawaii and Chris is gonna hate his life because it's so hot there," and it's like, first of all, you're not wrong. I'm sweating my butt off every moment of the day that I'm outside because
Yeah.
it's 65% humidity and it was, I think the coolest it was. I'm not sure how it would have been with the breeze, but the coolest it was
It got to 23.
typically was like 28 in the day as
Oh,
and a
yeah.
high of
Yeah.
like 34 on one of
23,
the
yeah.
days was like 34. But
I
like
don't
it's
think it ever
completely
actually got up to
socially
34.
acceptable for somebody to be like, "Nah, I don't want to go somewhere cold. It'd be too cold." But like for Chris to be like, "No, I don't want to go somewhere hot." Everybody's like, "Oh, you don't like
Do you feel persecuted, love?
I think it's
I don't
'cause
feel
you're-
persecuted. I
it's
just
'cause-
feel like it's a little bit
it's because you're a Canadian and most of our year is winter, and so people do
Like to
want
maximize the summer.
Yeah.
But I don't think even people who are from hotter countries want to go necessarily to a
No, people would do
cool
ski
vacation.
trips, like
People go to Montana. In the
I do know
States
people from Canada
Montana
go on ski
is
trips.
warmer
to
than
ski.
Saskatchewan.
It is because this is ridiculous cold. Saskatchewan is just unpleasant cold.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
Even like a ski trip, you're going because you like skiing, but you're not just going to a cold climate
but you
to
go to like
experience
the Alps,
the
in
climate,
Europe.
which is what we do with hot countries. Is we go to experience the climate
Yeah.
very specifically.
Mm-hmm. That's because it's warm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I guess it would
this
be
makes
different.
perfect
Because
sense
it's
to
lovely.
me. Yes.
It would be different if I was like, "Yeah, I want to go to someplace warm so that I can sit indoors in an AC the whole time." That would be different. Then I could see somebody being like, "Why are you doing that? If you can just not go." But the thing is that like I do want to go and I do want to be able to enjoy the experiences and like the traveling. And I would love to just be able to go and not have to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are able to do that. Some people are able to be in a sweater in that kind of weather and be like, "Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable."
There were actually a lot
But-
of people in long sleeve shirts when we were there, and we were in a very touristy area. I cannot imagine that they had been there long enough to
To be like acclimatized. to
Yeah.
it.
I was like,
Yeah.
"What are you wearing?" It was
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. But there, yeah. So
Although everybody and their dog had flowy pants, and I wanted flowy pants, and we looked at the
Ooh.
malls, and I could not find any flowy pants for less than like
Palooza
$60,
pants?
$70 USD.
like
I was not willing to pay
almost
that for
see-through.
flowy pants.
Wow.
that's how light they are, kind of.
They were just like
Pants.
super comfy looking. I wanted
Nice.
them so bad.
Pajama pants, but make it fashion.
No, but they
But
were
thinner.
flowier than that.
Mm.
Yeah, way better than pajama pants.
Mm-hmm. Like a skirt with legs.
Like
Yeah,
Some of
like
them,
a
like
very
some of them,
light
yeah,
skirt.
yeah.
Yeah, like cheesecloth.
Mm-hmm.
Cheese cloth.
Like,
Like-
almost like a swimsuit cover up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
Yes.
Yeah.
Like not see-through lingerie, but like non-see-through lingerie. like that thin, that light material. Like extremely thin. Sometimes you could see through this stuff.
I
people
would
were not
listen
wearing appropriate stuff
To
below
20
it.
minutes of you trying to explain what translucent means.
yes.
Just using analogies.
I always forget if something being opaque means you can or you can't see through it.
Yes,
Cannot.
you use it wrong often,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah.
Oh boy. Well, and then there's the difference between translucent and transparent. So,
Yes.
there's always-
But
good
there
words.
were many
Good
there were
words.
many cover-ups. There were many
Mhm.
cover-ups there. There were many flowy pants there.
Oh,
There are lots of
just
very
want them.
expensive. One of my coworkers found this online site that has the same kind of shirts and stuff that we were seeing there, and they were very fancy, like 140 US for like one shirt.
Wow.
And
What is that?
it's,
What are you talking
it's
about?
called Jam's World. It was one of the stores that was there.
What?
It's
Where's
just this
Peanut
like
Butter World?
designer.
Yeah.
There's this designer thing. Like, again, there's lots of stores that I recognized or sort of recognized, but because they're from the States, I'm not super familiar with them.
It
And the
sounds
States
like
is
Greg
super...
trying to excuse my joke, be like, yeah, that one's funny. Sorry, Greg, I mock you endlessly. I do love you, right?
And this is the soundbite we'll be using for the snippet for the episode.
There we go.
I do love you, I swear. Oh dear. There were some weird stores. I don't know if you guys have encountered weird stores anywhere you've been, but there was this giant
Again,
store just called
newbies
Sugar.
to America. So we see these stores and we're like, we've never seen that before. That's
What's
weird.
it called?
Sugar.
Sugar.
No, it's called it. I think it was called
It's
Sugar.
sugar. Sorry, it's Sugar.
Yeah.
And
it was this
it was
huge
literally
candy store,
just
basically.
Candy.
Oh, yeah.
The entire place.
Mhm.
And there was like things that you could buy that weren't candy but were candy themed, like a giant nerd stuffy,
Oh, yeah, yeah. Like a
It's weird.
novelty candy store.
an
of some
Oreo
sort.
shaped pillow.
There is a store in Banff, I think,
Weird.
that is this huge candy store, if I'm not incorrect.
There's like
There
an
is
old fashioned
there's
candy
a
store.
few.
There was an old-fashioned one in Moose Jaw that
Yeah, but
burnt
there's-
down that
there's
had like
one
a
in-
train that ran the change to the customers from
It
like the
burnt
back
down?
room.
That's very sad.
It's a whole thing. Maybe arson, maybe not. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was the
Only
it was in the
one
news.
person truly knows. Yeah.
The arsonist.
Yeah.
And then it's
Which could be in this room.
it's Chris.
I was asleep. But I was pretty sure that like it's been a number of years since I've been to Banff, but I was pretty sure that on that there's that like kind of main strip
Mhm.
or a couple of streets
Mhm.
parallel to each other that are main. I was pretty sure that there was a specific candy store in there that was like a smaller store, but that was just like jam packed with old school types
Yeah,
of
there
candy.
is an old school candy
And there's like the
store in
back
Banff.
wall is littered with different Pez dispensers
Yeah,
and
yeah,
like
yeah.
giant Pez dispensers.
Mhm.
They
Yeah.
have ice cream.
So this is not that kind of a store. This is all just like marketable
Candy
merchandise.
themed
Like
things.
here's a whole
It
section of the
wasn't
store
old-fashioned. It was
dedicated
just
to
like
Oreos.
cookies or
And
whatever.
here's a whole
Everything's
section of the
edible.
store.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Here's a
was
whole section of the
crazy.
store dedicated to there's an
They
Oreo
had
section.
sculptures made from jelly beans.
Wow.
Yeah. There's an Oreo section, and it had its own entrance, and I think it was technically a separate store, just connected by no wall, so that it could be free flowing.
Mhm.
And then next to it was a Sour Patch Kids, same size, and all Sour Patch Kids things.
Cool.
And then the rest of the store was just kind of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool. I felt like a child again when I was in there.
Yeah.
And then we paid an outrageous amount of money for some cherry blasters that weren't actually cherry blasters. And then I was really disappointed when I actually got to eat one because it wasn't actually a cherry blaster. And then Chris ended up eating them.
It was-
instead.
They were sour cherry candies or something like
Yeah,
that. And
they
I was
were
like,
not
Holly, these don't look
good.
like cherry blasters. She's like, well, they gotta be. I can't find them anywhere else in the store. I was like, they would be Maynard's. Maynard's? Is that the
Yeah.
brand name that makes
I'm
the,
not sure.
the
I thought
fuzzy
it was
peaches
the,
and
I
the
thought
cherry
it was the
blasters and
same
stuff?
one as Sour Patch Kids, but clearly it was not.
No,
Mm.
no. So a little bit disappointing, but
Sad.
Yikes.
yeah, they have. Yeah, it was almost interesting just walking around the mall and seeing what were stores that were American, like priority. And
Mhm.
now we were in a touristy place, so it's obviously slighted towards tourism. So then
Mhm.
every time you saw a shoe store, there was always a sandal store and a hat store right next to it, because it's
Mhm.
like if you need shoes or sandals, you also probably need a hat because it's super hot outside, and
Mhm.
we have these open air. And the malls are open air there, so there's
Oh,
like no
that's cool.
ceiling on them. They're
Mhm.
just the walkways are above each other, so there's like level 1, and then right above it is level 2, and then above it is level
Right.
3. But in the center, it's just free flowing straight up and down.
For anyone
basically.
who can't see
Hmm.
Chris, he's doing a bunch of hand movements because levels are always right above each other, audioly. In your description, you said there's level 1, and then right above it is level 2, and then right above it is level 3. But you were doing things with your hands that made sense to us.
I was drawing
Donuts.
Donuts or squares, and then the perimeter of that was where the levels are that you shop on, and then the center has a spot.
What happens when it rains?
It just rains. They have drains in the floor, but it doesn't. It doesn't torrentially downpour there.
Well, it does in the rainy season.
I guess
because they only have 2 seasons.
I'm a tarp the mall.
No,
I don't think
but
so.
like
everything was just tile,
and the
like
main
it was
floor
just
was like
outside,
and then there was like live grass areas in the middle of these malls that would just suck.
It was very pretty.
And a little
Must
bit
just
of
be the same
drainage.
as like a park or something like that, where there's a cemented area.
Yeah,
but like there was
they just
actual
used
drains in the floor,
stuff.
and so I think that's how they siphoned
But the
off
thing
the
that
water,
was interesting, I thought about, because I think about these things, which is stupid. I'm such an old lady, but that was interesting about how these malls were made is that each business had its own doors. So it wasn't like in one of our malls where you just walk in and out and there's no, like, they have like security doors that they put down. Every single one had its own doors that you had to open in order to get in because they want to be AC'd.
Oh.
Yes. So the mall itself is open air.
And it's AC.
But the individual stores are
generally
had AC.
And then the store can control how much it wants to pay for AC rather than the entire mall deciding how much we're going to pay and then make everybody
makes sense.
So that was really different. It was it was interesting to walk around. But if you're just window shopping, you're just walking outside.
Yeah. Did you guys just walk everywhere in Halifax?
Yeah.
Walk or bus.
Or bus. Okay.
Yeah, busing.
So how's the bus system there?
We only took the bus one day.
Oh, okay.
And it worked great.
It seemed to work fine. We used the bus system mostly, and I didn't even use, there's like an online site that would let you see the bus schedule for Honolulu, which is where we were. But we just used Google Maps, and Google Maps does a pretty good job of showing you in the location that you are. And I don't know how they've integrated it like that, but it does it's pretty darn accurate. Like it took me about 2 days to figure out what all the little like numbers and timing codes meant. And because there's always like a number when it was supposed to arrive like 5 minutes from now, but then in a brackets, it would be like early. And I was like, okay, so then will it wait around? Turns out, no, they won't wait around. If they're early, they're early. And so you just have to kind of get to the bus stop about 20 to 15 minutes before your bus arrives, because it could arrive 10 minutes early. But for the most part, it was really, really good. And it was even good at showing you where the stops were, when you had to get off and transfer if you had to do that. But then I've also heard of people going to San Francisco and New York and doing like renting those little like half an hour bikes.
Oh, yeah.
Or scooters or electric scooters or things. And so Honolulu also has a bike system, and they also have like a rentable bike system and a rentable scooter system. And we didn't try the bike system out because the bikes are a lot wider than the scooters, and the traffic where we were was, because it was those main strips in the touristy area, was just like a little bit too congested for our liking to be able to be confidently able to do that.
Even I wouldn't feel comfortable biking on the streets of a new city.
I probably would have been okay with it. I think Holly wasn't too keen on it, but
I was more keen on the bikes than I was on the scooters.
Okay, but we did these scooters.
We did not do the bikes, but we did the scooters.
And I think the scooters were super fun. They were way more expensive.
Super terrifying.
But they also didn't have rubber, like air-filled wheels, because then if a wheel pops, then they have to be serviced, and the company doesn't want to have to deal with that. So they're these like solid wheels. So you're going over, and it's not asphalt there. It's, well, maybe it is some of it, but along the outside is definitely cement.
There was some cement like gutters.
And the gutters
that you're trying to drive in
are in sections. And so they're sections about 8 to 10 feet long, and they're rectangular. So they're maybe like 2 feet wide at the very most, 8 to 10 feet long. And then there's a new one. So it's almost like they make these plates of cement and they put them down one next to each other. And over time, if the road starts to bow in different places, suddenly you have these like tectonic plate shaped things. And if you hit it with your scooter, then your phone goes flying off and like the front camera shatters, and then you have to get it replaced, which definitely has not happened to me. And you definitely can't see my phone over audio, and it's definitely not mostly shattered. It definitely
wasn't super upsetting.
Yeah.
When we were there.
Yeah. So that kind of burnt me a little bit. I was like, I want to love these scooters so much because they're fun and they go like 20 miles an hour max. That's pretty quick.
It was too fast for me.
Yeah. Too furious.
I think it was too fast for me because I am not athletic enough to have the balance to keep them going when I'm going over all of those bumps. I didn't fall all the way off, but there was a couple of times where I like skidded out a little bit.
But I love that there's that transportation, local transportation has evolved to the point of, or maybe not local transportation isn't what I'm thinking of, but like that community transportation where like, yeah, they're trying to make money, so they have these vehicles out there to make money, but you don't have to take Uber or Lyft or a taxi. Like you don't have to be stuck with those, or you don't have to already know the bus system in order to be, you just have to be a little bit technologically competent in order to
Use an app.
read the app
to
properly.
know how to use Google Maps.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even then it was a bit of, like I said, it took me a couple of days to really figure it out. But we figured it out, and it was great. I love that we've gotten to a point
It was cheap.
in North American society anyways, where we have those things in place that we can just travel
Well,
and not have to worry about how we're getting around. Like I didn't want to walk 25 minutes to everything every day. There was days when we got
any
20,000 steps on our Fitbits.
Oh,
and,
wow.
Like there's
That's a
long,
heavy day.
Yeah.
most of the days were
At least 11 or 12,000.
no, all of them were over 12 because
For you?
that's my goal. Yeah.
Yeah. Not all of
them
mine
were
were
over
over
12.
12, but yeah, they were mostly over 12.
Most of them were over 15.
So we were very, very active.
Yeah,
Like,
no
Which I think
kidding.
most people are on vacation. Like generally you're doing a lot more.
Yeah, but basically, other than library day.
Yeah. You're walking off the supper from last night is
Hey,
essentially.
library
Yeah,
day is
because
active.
supper-
It's just you're active in your imagination. You're journeying across many worlds.
You're using the glucose from your
Wah,
brain.
wah.
No, that wasn't a joke. That was like
He's
an
very
authentic
serious.
truth. I'm very serious about that.
The things that I also like about traveling, about like visiting different places, is that with where you've been, where we've been, and where we were planning to go at one point to Toronto there, we could do all three of those trips, let's say, in the next month. So we could go to Hawaii tomorrow, and then a month later you guys could go to Halifax, and then a month after that we could go to Toronto. And like there almost definitely wouldn't, maybe with the exception of some of the suppers, there wouldn't be almost any of the same experiences.
Yeah.
And I like that about traveling, where like I can keep this document for Toronto for no good reason. Like maybe nothing comes of it, but like maybe in the future we just go to Toronto ourselves, or you guys go to Toronto and you're like, where do you guys still have that? Or maybe you still have the document yourselves, and you want to try out that, like that
there's a
dragon,
rainforest cafe
that dragon
here or
escape
whatever.
room
the
castle
castle.
thing. And it's like, there's
I wanna
unique
do that
things
so
about all of these
bad.
different places. And yes, they're tourist traps. I understand, but like you can do stuff that is free, and that's
I have
fine.
no
And then
shame about doing tourist attractions when I am on vacation. Like a lot of people feel like that. Like, oh, well, that's just a tourist attraction. I don't care.
Yeah, because it's cool.
I'm a tourist.
yeah.
That is my identity when I am somewhere else. I am a tourist.
You can also be smart, like we've already talked about it. Like you can be smart with your money and like just know that you're going to be using it somewhere else. And yeah, you could go and very frugally hang out somewhere. Even one of our friends we were talking to just before we left, they were like, oh yeah, I had family that went to Hawaii once, and they like, was it that they didn't book any hotels, or that they forgot to, or something, or they were trying to be cheap about it?
Elsewhere, they were on their way elsewhere,
and
and like Thailand and Japan, and
Okay.
just like in the area, quote unquote, of Hawaii, and so they booked,
No, just nearby.
they booked a flight, so one of their flights to somewhere else, so that
And
it would go
through
through Hawaii,
Hawaii,
so
and
that
then
they
they
would
stayed,
have
like,
Yeah.
2 days
a
or 3
large
days or
amount of
something.
time. I don't think it was days, but like.
Yeah.
Or maybe it was like
It was-
2 nights.
There was at least 2 nights, and they were like, they just slept in a ditch one
They
night.
just
and I was
slept
like,
in a ditch
"What?
because they
How
didn't
could
have
you
any accommodations planned, and they didn't have any money. And Hawaii is a very expensive place because
Yeah.
it's a very
Oh my
tourist-driven
goodness.
place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not like Thailand, where you can go and find a hostel somewhere, and it's not that hard, right? Like like there are cheaper places to vacation than Hawaii.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
And so his two brothers slept in a ditch one night, and the
Yeah.
other
Oh my
night, because
goodness.
they're not allowed to sleep in the park, right? Like
Yeah, because they have rules about that.
because it's warm enough for everybody to sleep anywhere they want, whenever they want. And
Right.
so
Yeah.
yeah.
So-
Anyways.
So-
That's insane.
Yeah, so maybe no shame in taking in some of those touristy things, but I like that no matter, like, unless you are very one track as an individual, and it's like I can only eat out and I can only go to the movies and I can only, I don't know, sit in my AC room. Like, you could probably do that anywhere that you travel, but other than that, there are definitely different experiences that you can have, and you could go multiple times and
Mm-hmm.
do things multiple times, and I love that aspect of it. I do wish that like as a person that like needs to be like prepared and like and like prefers not to be dripping in sweat at all times, like I do wish that I could just like jump at opportunities a little
Yeah.
bit more regularly and just be a little bit more carefree. I'm not, but that's fine. I think that as long as we plan, I can still be relatively prepared for it, because I didn't like
Be a little bit
absolutely
happy.
hate my life in Hawaii. It like there were parts where I was like, this I could feel better, but
Yeah.
like by the time that we were nearing the end of our stay there, I was starting to get used to it, starting to be like, you know what, this just is how it is. And there's people around me
Just
that
28.
are maybe not
Yeah.
super local, but they look like they've been there many times, and they're just like, yeah, I'm just walking around with like no shirt, sweaty back, like that's just how it is.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, okay, I guess people are just okay with that there. So
People are okay with it here too, you know. You can go out in the summertime and be sweaty and no one cares that you're sweaty, because everyone is sweaty except Ashlynn, because she is perfect in 32-degree weather.
Yep.
Yeah.
That sounds like, that does sound perfect. Yeah. Give you
So.
a mug of tea. I'm ready to go.
A mug of tea.
Mug of
My goodness.
30-degree weather, mug of tea. I need something. I'm looking for something hot.
Yeah.
We had Starbucks more than I thought we would on vacation,
Nice.
because iced
Okay.
chai tea
I have
latte
to
was
tell a
something that I
story.
needed to drink.
We
that
were in
heat.
Turkey. I may have mentioned this already. I don't
No,
know.
tell
if I
us.
mentioned this on the
That was good.
podcast. We were in Turkey, and we were hungry. We wanted some food, but we had also been. I think I must have mentioned this. Okay, so we had been living in like North Africa, and then we're visiting Turkey just for like a holiday.
Mhm.
We asked the locals where the nearest McDonald's was.
Oh,
Did I tell
okay.
you this? I must. I feel like I
don't,
must.
know.
I don't
No?
think so.
Anyways, they looked at us appalled, because they were like, well, but like there's like a local restaurant just down the road, you know, and you know, there's some really good food over there. And all that. But we're like, no, we really want McDonald's, because we hadn't had
Please
McDonald's
give
in a
us
while.
something that
And
we
I think that's
know.
the thing is like just
did
like
you know
yeah.
for sure Turkey had a McDonald's?
oh yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
okay.
McDonald's
yeah.
is, I
They're-
think,
they're-
I think in
They're in a lot of
every or almost every country in the world.
This
just
was starting
not-
to
just
make
not
me
North
suspect maybe
Africa.
not in Turkey.
yeah, or at least
That's
where
fair.
we were. So, but in Turkey, yes. And so then that's
Okay.
where they just had like their eyebrows raised, being like, "You stupid North Americans! Like there is quality, authentic cuisine here,
Just
Yeah.
and
judging
you
you.
are choosing to go to
McDonald's.
McDonald's to get your Big Mac combo meal." Like, so, anyways, that just reminded me of like, you know, like, oh, we happen to end up going to Starbucks a lot, right?
Yeah.
Because I think you just kind of you do sometimes gravitate toward your comfort, you know,
Mhm.
like
yeah.
it's just the things that you're used to. So
Mhm.
yeah.
I don't even like Starbucks that much. I just like one drink.
Yeah.
But it was hot, so I
Yeah.
wanted that
You're
one
like,
drink.
Yes, please.
Yeah. We actually, the first place that we ate when we were in Honolulu was McDonald's.
Yeah.
But that was the morning that we were
Yeah.
there.
Yep.
And, but we got breakfasts that weren't common.
Okay, but I wasn't expecting there to be anything other than like like an extra large size drink there.
Yeah.
Right? Like I know, and I continually forgot while I was there that their larges are like our mediums. So then
No,
when
no.
I order a large thing,
Oh, yes.
or
They're,
Because
they're
it's the
large.
States. 'Cause
Sorry.
It's Merca.
sorry,
Our
their
larges
medium,
are like their
yeah,
mediums.
Our larges
Yeah.
are their mediums. So when I order a
Mhm.
large there or something like
It's
that,
like
it's
an
suddenly
extra
an
large.
extra
It's
large
like
Canadian
really
size.
big. Yeah.
So, but I wasn't expecting something particularly interesting, and yet
Oh, I had our breakfast was eggs and rice and
Oh.
spam.
No way.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
And I got the-
liked
I
it.
got-
It was
McDonald's?
good.
I got the
from
Portuguese.
McDonald's.
I got the eggs,
How does
rice, and
McDonald's
Portuguese sausage.
Yeah.
Do their rice.
It's like instant rice, probably.
It was
Probably.
Well, it was sticky
yeah,
rice.
it was like nice and sticky. It
Huh.
was good.
Yeah.
It was a little bland.
Yeah.
But
They
it was
gave
rice.
us soy sauce with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
so we ate soy sauce.
That's so interesting.
At breakfast time. It was weird. Yeah, but I was told if I'm going to Hawaii, I have to eat spam because Hawaii
It's Hawaii.
is known for it,
Mhm.
apparently, which is such a weird thing to me.
Canned meat.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Delicacy.
Yeah, but it was good. I mean, it's just like salty meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's been like fried.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I would definitely encourage people to like branch out and try something unique to the area that you're in. But like, if you're just on the coast of Canada, maybe it's like trying a dish that has fish in it for a meal that you wouldn't like maybe a breakfast dish that has fish in it. Like, it
A
doesn't have to be
McLobster.
it. Sure,
We
sure.
did have McLobsters when
Oh,
we were in
really?
Halifax.
Yeah,
A
like
Mick lobster.
Yep.
Yeah.
yeah,
McDonald's sandwich with lobster.
yeah.
Well,
Yep.
It's very artificial lobster. Let's
Yeah.
start with that.
Let's start with that. Yeah.
It was not
All
caught
right.
that day.
Yeah.
but like maybe it's something like that. Like I do recommend definitely doing something traditional to the area that you're in.
Mhm.
Because you can get stuck in that rut of like just having a boring trip.
Mhm.
And yet, you know what? At the same time, after everything we've talked about, if like that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. Like, no, you're the one that controls it.
Have your library day and
It's
eat it
your-
too.
Yeah.
It's your vacation. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's what I think you're psycho. I was going to be really cool about it and be like, if that's what you want to do it. But no, I think you're psycho. Go talk to a local person.
Mhm.
That's-
And ask them where the McDonald's is in Turkey.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Well.
that was lovely.
Mhm.
I'd love to go on vacation again right now. So that
I
don't
want
have
to
back
go
work.
on an imaginary vacation to all of the wonderful places that our fantastic listeners want to visit or have visited. So if you're listening to this podcast, you should send us in. Tell us about the best vacation you've
Yes.
ever gone on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or the worst.
Or like
because
something.
those are good
yeah.
stories
some-
too.
Yeah.
And like a unique experience that you
Maybe
had.
we
too,
need
or
a
part
something
two.
like that.
Maybe a part 2 for the
Talk
best
about
and the
our
worst.
Talk about our worst. We didn't really talk about terrible stuff too much.
No, we didn't.
We didn't.
Yeah.
Just Chris getting really
Vacations
hot.
part 2 there and back again.
Yeah.
There and back again.
But hey, Chris, do you
Mhm.
do you have like an audio file of like waves like?
I am
sure you
sure
could
I
find
can find
one.
So
something.
maybe
Yeah.
you could like ease the listeners out of the podcast with some nice like beachy kind of
Yep. I can.
Steel drum.
I can
Just
for sure do.
take them,
Ooh,
transport
there was no
them
steel
to
drum
that
there.
Oh.
to that vacation.
Definitely not.
Okay, it'll
imagine
depend on
steel
what I can
drums.
find.
Okay,
for sure.
Okay.
So no music.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I can fade us out to that, and then a
If
couple
they're
of seconds, and then music.
if they're on
silent.
vacation in the library, they can be transported.
They're on vacation in the library.
You
Oh,
can
boy.
hear what it's like outside.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah. Welcome to Housebound Podcast through this tropical playlist. Here on the ocean of your choice,
Yeah.
you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
If you have internet access where you are,
Yeah.
if you're in the middle of the ocean, or maybe you downloaded this podcast onto your device
Did Ashlynn miss any?
Oh, yeah.
and you're listening to it at 36,000 feet in the air.
Mm-hmm.
But
We make this podcast and it's distributed by Anchor FM. You can find us at anchor.fm/housebound podcast.
it's
And you
just
can-
it's just anchor.fm/housebound.
Well,
Yeah.
that ruined the mood.
Yeah.
Anchor
Try again. Beep. beep. First
You-
take.
You can find us at
Second take.
Anchor FM Housebound Podcast.
Anchor
What'd you
dot
say?
FM. Anchor dot FM.
Holly, take us away. Take us away from this miserable place
Uh,
of unfacts, of non-facts.
Anchor.fm/housebound Housebound and send us an audio message of your favorite wave sounds. We're on all major platform.
I'm done. Popcorn.
We're gonna have beach
All
music.
Farms
major-
is what I
I was
heard.
trying to say podcast platform.
We're on all major pot farms across the continental U.S.
Tweed, Aurora, Tweed, Canopy, all the pop farms.
It was going to be such a gentle exit.
Yeah, that was great.
Check it out.
Listen online at anchor.fm.
Why are you
/housebound.
talking like that?
I love it.
It's so good.
It's so awkward. At this point, I'm fading the music back in.
Everybody
So
loves it. Spotify, Apple or Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, and others. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.